Are we the baddies?
I drink your...
Hey, this is Box Office Baddies coming to you from a balcony in beautiful Koreatown, Los Angeles. My name is Sean, and this is the only film I wouldn't change. I believe that was said by William Friedkin, the director of the movie Sorcerer that we're doing today.
That's correct.
Cool, and with me today is my cousin Cody. I've known him since I was born. He's basically my best friend. And he also offers a certain level of expertise in an area within the industry. So do you want to kind of touch on that a little bit?
I wouldn't say expertise.
Well, come on.
A bit of an amateur, but I work in the film industry and television industry. I do lighting I've done a couple shows so far. I haven't worked on a big major motion picture yet.
Yeah.
But I do lighting, so I basically just make people look good. That's the objective. Separate background from subject.
Cool. So within that job, are you more on the sort of like rigging end of like setting up like the lights? Do you sort of do like the gaffing side where you kind of like set things up, take them down, make sure that's running smoothly? What specifically do you do in the industry under the electrical department?
I have done rigging where running cable, that kind of stuff. However, as of recently, most of what I do is I put up lights on set, real time, when the actors are there or right before the actors get there, and I make sure that they are lit from the right angle. I can do a key light, a fill light, those kinds of things.
Cool.
I mean, I don't make the decisions.
Yeah.
But I am told how to light somebody the right way.
Cool. Hey, you want to do me a favor and actually talk into the mic?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
All right, dude. Alrighty. So I also wanted to talk about you joining the industry. You've been in here for what, almost a year or a little past a year?
I want to say it's over a year. It's probably closer to 2 years that I've been in the industry. And
union.
Yeah, union, definitely.
Hell yeah. Get it, baby.
I got union maybe after 30 days, but
my cousin's got that union blood coursing through his veins, baby.
It is. Fourth generation, baby.
Fourth generation. Yeah, that's something we need to touch on because we come from a family of gaffers, and this dates back to my father's father and, of course, his father's father. And This is Richard Martins. He's known by some people in the industry as being like one of the best gaffers they've ever worked with. He's like legendary. And he essentially just passed the torch to our fathers, who I believe are pretty damn respected within their things.
Definitely.
There's just so many of them, but like they've definitely like put like so much time and energy in, and like I don't know, they're definitely veterans. You know what I mean?
If anybody's ever seen the movie The Rose or Blowout, those are
most Adam Sandler movies.
Well, okay, well the Rose and Blowout are both movies that my grandfather worked on, and then all the Adam Sandler movies are our fathers for the most part.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so basically, I think after talking about this, I kind of want to get into the movie that we're talking about today.
Yes.
And that is Sorcerer. This is a movie that Cody has introduced to me, and I think he told me about it maybe about 3 or 4 months ago or something. It was like right when I moved back to LA, and it really just blew my mind. Like he hit me up, he's like, dude, you have to watch this movie. The tension building is incredible. There's some of like the most crazy on location shots like of all time.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, like why don't you touch on that a little bit?
I don't know where I originally saw it. It might have been on Letterboxd or something that I saw some like reviews for it. And this movie, people were just talking about how it's one of the most underrated movies in the sense that nobody ever actually got to saw it when it came out, and that's because not only did it come out at the same time as the original Star Wars back in, I think it was 77.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it did that, but I know that there was a problem with William Friedkin, who's the director. He had a big ego at the time because he did a bunch of good movies.
Pretty brutal guy.
And so he had problems with Paramount because after it finished filming, they wanted it to be like wrapped up in a different way, and they didn't want to pay for it to be reshot. So they basically didn't market it as well as they could have.
Wow, so they kind of just like almost punished him a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's very interesting. Yeah, because I think that this costed about $22 million to make, and it ended up grossing, I think, about 8 million domestically and about 9 million in total.
Yeah.
So this is something where it's like it's a very big loss, and it's honestly quite astonishing to me because I feel like this movie is probably like a top 5 favorite movie of mine, and I think it quite possibly might be one of the most underrated movies of all time.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, so this movie was filmed in 5 different locations. I think that includes like Israel, the Dominican Republic,
Paris,
Mexico, and one other country. But it's very crazy. Most movies today do shoot on location, and if they do for most of the movie, a lot of the time it's within the United States. But talking about like big budget movies that are shot in 5 different places, all on location, including the jungle, mixed with industrial shots at other points, it's just something that's not really like made today, I feel like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, even in what it had to have started in 1975 or something, if it was to come out in 77, and back then $22 million is a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, that's like $12 billion.
Yeah. Somewhere close.
For sure, man. And so we should talk about how this movie starts out. The way that it starts out is you see a series of these vignettes, and each vignette takes place in a different country with a different set of people. And like, you know, you have one guy who is like essentially like a terrorist within Israel, and he sets off this bomb and he has to go on the run. Yeah. There's a guy in Paris who basically is going to be convicted of fraud if he doesn't come up with the amount of money that he owes. I think it's the bank, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's trying to figure that out. He can't. His partner kills himself, which is crazy.
Yeah.
He fucking flees. There's there's a couple other guys. Do you remember the other one?
There's a assassin,
and
he's from Veracruz. And then the last one is a kind of like a mobster from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
I actually have a fact. I mean, I wrote down a little bit about it, but
Hit me.
From the guy who leads the, like, you know how when they do the church scene, and meanwhile they're like covering the church, and then there's a robbery going on.
Yeah.
The robber, the like head guy of the robbery, was actually cast by William Friedkin because he had taken place. He was the actual person to do that specific robbery in real life, and that's what the whole church robbery scene is based on.
Oh, really?
And so after that guy did his sentence, William Friedkin picked him up to play the role in the
That's wild.
scene that he had based
Dude,
upon
Friedkin's like, he's a wild guy, man.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard other things on sets where, specifically in The Exorcist, and I think a couple other of his movies, but there's one particular time in The Exorcist where I think the mother of the daughter who's basically turns into a demon, the mother gets like pulled back by her hair by like a supernatural thing.
Yeah.
Or I think it might be from like the daughter who's like being possessed. But anyways, like they're trying a bunch of different takes, and I think he's wants them to essentially pull her hair like much harder and like really get into it, and it actually really like hurt her, and she was like not stoked about it. And then they go and post, they see the best takes, and they see that was like kind of the best one, the most real, visceral one, and he's all about that. Like I think he's almost like not really, he doesn't really care and have like a morality in some senses of like how he captures things. All that matters is like, hey, we have this take, like it seems the most real because she was in pain, like let's use it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of lends itself to Sorcerer as well, because there's scenes that had to have just gone fucking horribly wrong, and we knew people on set got like gangrene.
Yeah.
And Friedkin himself got malaria on set. So
I talked to you about this already, how I feel like some of the best movie scenes come about from like not a lack of rules, but like almost a lack of caring a little bit.
Yeah.
There's some movies where like they got the best scene because
it was
something fucked up.
Because it was like, it became real in that moment.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's not an exorcist happening, but like she feels someone tugging on her hair and she's like, that fucking hurts.
Yeah.
And you see it in their face because she's in pain.
Yeah.
And so while things like this like do not fly today for a number of reasons, and honestly maybe rightfully so, but I think that you're just not going to get some of that rawness and real like sort of visceral expression that you would in like movies from that time. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think you talked about the same thing on another episode about the whole fellation thing going on.
Oh yeah, a little bit different. That's Vincent Gallo getting the beach of the century.
But exactly, it crossed the line, but it made for some interesting a good movie almost. Like
Well, no, that movie sucked,
well,
but it wasn't worth it. Let's be honest.
okay. Well,
The
I'll
movie
go
we
see
watched
that
today,
one.
Sorcerer, I think it was pretty fucking worth it.
Oh,
Because,
yeah,
good
definitely.
lord, you
Yeah.
know. I think even if I worked on half of this movie, I got gangrene, and my foot's just like raised in the air on a fucking hospital bed. Once I saw that copy, it's honestly, if my foot gets chopped off, I see the Sorcerer after, and I'm like, okay, I was really mad, but like,
Yeah.
goddamn, am I like stoked about this movie?
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm
just to be a
saying?
part
Like,
of it.
that's how it was with like Kubrick too. I think is the most notable one. He did crazy shit all the time. He would like use like almost like mental manipulation. Like he did that to Tom Cruise on his last film, Eyes Wide Shut.
Mm-hmm.
He did that to Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, who were dating, I think before, and they weren't dating. Maybe they were dating at the time, or they had been broken up. But what I'm getting at is that he would get in like their mind and kind of bring up like some controversy about their relationship or something like weird, so like they could get like he could get in their heads and get a more visceral reaction on screen, you know.
Yeah.
So it's all these directors back then, like they didn't give a fuck, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just as a viewer, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it was cool to work on.
No, definitely not. I think Tarantino has been known to do some stuff like that too.
I'm sure it's all the greats pretty much.
Yeah.
But all right, why don't you start to explain, after we see these vignettes of people on the run, what specifically happens to them, where do they go, and why?
All right, so basically, all these people have a reason to leave where they're at. They like one guy's wanted for fraud, one guy is an assassin or something, and so all of them separately, none of these people knowing each other, have to flee their respective countries for
Sure.
some reason, basically. And so they all end up in, I think you said in the movie it's Chile, right?
Yes, I believe like where it's set in the film, it's Chile.
Yeah, it's shot in somewhere else.
Or Chile if you're white.
Yeah, but it's essentially they all flee their countries and they all end up in some village in Chile. And so from then, basically, we are introduced to a storyline of a oil manufacturing
Yes.
or baron presiding over some oil-based company. And there's I'm pretty sure that it's a terrorist attack that causes an explosion, right?
I think
That's
so.
what they implied?
Yes, I believe it's either that or something just goes horribly wrong due to lack of management. Because I think specifically that angle might be correct, considering when the people died on the rig, it seemed like the people working at the refinery like were super pissed because their loved ones were like dying, and so they have that scene where you have all the people running up on the truck and like carrying like the bodies off the cart and also just like almost riding. You
That
know,
was
in
a
the
good
streets.
scene.
It was crazy. Didn't
that's
it
a
kind of
crazy
remind you of Apocalypto?
Yeah.
The scenes of like films that are crazy on location. They need bodies, people out there to create like as much tension with like a huge crowd as possible, and so they just pay these people who live locally to come and just like wreak havoc.
Yeah.
You know, and that must have been like wild to see that scene being filmed. I often think about that when I see these shots where people are going crazy. There's, even though it's fake, when you have like a collective big amount of people that are coming together, you really like the vibe must change in like a really weird way, you know? Like, can you imagine just being like the boom guy, just like
Yeah.
holding it in and just being like, holy shit, like
and
this
they're
is
all
crazy.
locals too. Like,
Yeah.
they're just nobodies, I guess, according to the film crew. But
Well,
like,
William Friedkin, like he gets on like a podium with a mic and he's talking to all the like the people of the country, and he has like a translator, and he's just like, I want you guys to go like absolutely ape
just
shit.
go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretend American oil men just were responsible for killing your loved
Your real
ones.
loved ones.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's a good scene though. It comes out great. Honestly, the charred bodies too. It really like it's I don't know. It's a
just
visceral scene.
Super unsettling.
Yeah.
And I think the texture of the bodies and I don't know. I just think this movie in general it's kind of like The Lighthouse, how I said in an earlier episode, where there's just it focuses on texture. That's like one of the main elements of this movie. It's to signify the grittiness of the film in all aspects, you know, like them sweating, like dirty, like just like this absolute like mission that they have to go on. You know what I'm saying? And you see it in things like Skin, where, and I really think that like something with like 35mm film is like when it zooms in, you get this like really, really like smooth, but also like weird look of skin. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like they use like skin and like perspiration, these things, to like really express like nervousness, like people have been like weathered down by just like working long days. And like, didn't you notice that as well?
Yes, definitely. And that's why I think that there were a lot of shots of there's a lot of zooming in the movie in general. It uses zoom to a great effect that I think that was almost artistic for the time.
Kind of like Wes
period.
Anderson, right?
Yeah.
That's what I noticed.
Yeah. And it used it in different like action sequences, but also used it. There was I'd count maybe at least 25 to 30 different zooms on a person's face.
Yeah.
Whether it's a local or an actual one of the actors or something. But what strikes me most about the cinematography in general was the explosions.
Yeah.
And like some of the we've talked about this many times, the explosions and the colors,
the vibrancy you're getting.
Yeah, definitely.
It's absolutely crazy.
Like I just talked about that it's a oil refinery that explodes because of a terrorist attack or whatever happens, and then the oil is ignited and it's just a giant plume of fire coming out of the ground, and it's
very like There Will Be Blood type thing, you know?
Yeah, but it's in the jungle, and so it has this amazing contrast with the trees and the greenery around it. And
totally.
I loved it. They also did it with a helicopter shot flying around it, and it's beautiful.
It's the complementary colors, right? It's like if they're shooting a luscious mountainside where they have a helicopter flying through these canyons, you know, and then you get around like the brim of the mountain and you see this like fantastic like spraying of fire erupting out of like this beautiful greenery. Yeah. And it's those complementary colors like really just like hit you in the face in the most like beautiful way, and like the texture of the 35 millimeter film like with all of that is just like, it's incredible, dude. It like really absolutely blows my mind. I love it.
Definitely one of my favorite parts about this movie, and why when we talked about doing this, I was like, that's definitely a movie to consider, you know? And it's why I told you to watch this movie. I heard that it was, for a 70s movie, something that had almost modern level of cinematography.
That's the thing. There's very few that can accomplish that. You see that with Stanley Kubrick's, you know? I was going to say 2001, but my friend pointed out, shout out Pat, I say it almost every episode. I bring up that movie.
Really?
And yeah.
Dude,
I know.
Cinematography-wise, it's a movie.
It's so crazy that it's hard for me to not like think of it whenever I think about something that looks insane for how old it is, you know?
Yeah.
But let's move on from that.
Just the fact that it's in 68.
So jumping forward in the plot, you have these people who are on the run. They live in this village in Chile. It's very much like a place you go, like if you're fucked in your old life. And so the oil refinery explodes, like you said, right? And they need to sort of like loosen the soil with like an explosion to be able to stop this eruption of flames. And the only way to do that, because it's a very poor area, they don't have access to like high level explosives, is they find like this like set of nitroglycerin like dynamite sticks, like just like up like in the mountains. And it's a thing that they were able to get to like by helicopter, but they realized like we're not going to be able to bring these down by helicopter. Too much of a risk. If the helicopter goes down because of shaking of being in the chopper and that explodes, you had a way bigger problem on your hands. So what they realize is they have to get it down by truck. It's too far to walk it, too far to do any of that. So what they do is they use their surroundings, and what they have is people that live in the village, including the people from the vignettes from the beginning, and they see who is the best like forward drivers in the village. And so they put them to a series of tests driving these like really fucking shitty trucks. Yeah. Horrible. And they end up picking these 4 people, and one of them ends up getting killed. So another guy fills the spot. Yeah. But the guy who fills the spot, including the other 3 people, are set essentially to do this mission, and they have to like bring it back. If they do it correctly, then they get paid a good wage for all of them, considering like where they live, right?
Yeah. I think one of the themes that now, even just that you're talking about it, one of the themes that I'm getting out of this is that like people with money or corporations or the government or whatever are exploiting just normal everyday people. Like if it wasn't these 4 criminals that we were given, it would have just been locals that were that needed money, and so then they had to do some crazy job where and they mention it that only half of these people are supposed to survive. Like they take 2 trucks, 2 to a truck, and
it's like not caring about human life. It's like, let's use these working class people that are fucked, and let's see if one can bring back the dynamite. You
exactly.
know?
Like whatever it takes to get the project back going, so we can just make more money for the upper class.
Friedkin also said that he wanted to create a sense of like an everyday person, or like a person of like low class, like sort of create this like visual and like world building element of like a purgatory, and like kind of what you're stuck in, and the only way that you're able to get out of this purgatory is to work together. And so like that's what it is in like a micro level. But what he was saying is he wanted to sort of make it in like a macro thing, where he has these people almost in a way like represent countries who always have conflict, and they never work together, so nothing ever gets done within like the planet, you know. And so you kind of have like this microcosm of like different people who like have to work together to get things done, you know. And they you see during one of the deliveries that like they think one of the trucks just goes under, and then like a couple of the guys celebrate like, fuck yeah, dude, we're getting double shares. You know, like they're so stoked.
I was gonna say that too.
But yeah, it's kind of funny, you know, because like later on that's not the thing. It's like there's a camaraderie that comes in going through hell, and I believe that's one of the sort of points of this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So why don't you kind of speak a little bit more to the tension of this movie, and how it comes very abruptly from the first scene where they cross like the really janky like wooden stick sort of bridge path.
Yeah, I have to say that scene in particular, there's a scene where obviously now they've got this unstable nitroglycerin, and they're taking it and trying to take it in 2 different trucks and bring it down the mountain back to the village where the oil refinery is. And this scene, it's raining, it's like a storm almost, and they're crossing this bridge, this rickety bridge, and it's over a river. And this has got to be, in my opinion, part of why this is one of my favorite movies, because like from an aspect of that I work in film and television, it is a movie I cannot tell you how they actually did it. I have no clue. It's
crazy,
amazingly done. And like some of the facts that I looked up, they're just crossing this bridge, but if you watch the movie, it's crazy. Originally the bridge took about $1 million to make, because it involves pulleys and hydraulic systems and all this stuff to actually work and not actually be dangerous. However, filming it, they said that the truck fell off of the bridge 5 times.
No way.
Yeah, and they had to then figure out about getting it back onto the bridge.
Every time it falls, it's $25,000 or something. You know
Tons
what I
of
mean?
money.
Like,
okay, so they built it for $1 million. Then apparently the river dried up, and they had to move the bridge to another river, which cost another $1 million. And so this is a $22 million movie. That's $2 million off the top just for the bridge scene.
Yeah.
And then they also said in the facts I looked up about this that it took 3 months to film that one scene. 3 months just to film this one scene it almost seems insignificant in the grander scheme of the whole movie. But like, if you're anybody like you or I that likes movies and film and the way like doing something for an artistic,
it's so worth it.
Yeah, it's
so worth it. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
So well. Also, you know that all the like wind in that scene is they flew helicopters over the bridge.
Wow.
Yeah. There's
absolute chaos.
And they had people with hoses, and it's just this crazy creating.
Do you want to hear something funny though? Is that I was actually, when I told you to talk more on this, I was talking about like the first like little like bridge thing they went across, early in the movie. But that's fine. It just goes to show you that like there's this pacing of like tension throughout the movie that leads to that like final bridge sequence of like tension, and there is like the first one that goes down is like, it's still very tense. Like I was like almost like shitting my pants, and that was just like,
I think it's a dam, isn't it?
It's like a dam with like rotted wood essentially. Yeah. But yeah, it's like they use a variety of different camera techniques to be able to make this happen correctly. They have like fucking shots that are like POV from the car. They have like angles from like underneath the truck. They have it where you see like dust falling, you see like
the wood creaking and then breaking, full on breaking.
Very, very quick cuts, and like, you know, like the sound design, like the use of like the Foley to like it really accentuate and like exaggerate like the sounds of like the creak and all this. It's like all these like techniques that are like so masterclass in like tension. Yeah, it's really incredible. But yeah, like considering that, going back to the actual bridge scene, like the crazy one, I think that this is one of the main scenes where I understand why this movie is often marketed as a horror film, because you really get to see certain things that a normal action thriller like wouldn't have. Like you wouldn't see it in like a Mission Impossible or something. It's like there's like the howling of like the winds, you know, from like the helicopters. It's just, it sounds like someone's screaming into the mics. Like you have like the rain coming down, pouring, just like these wide angle shots of the bridge. It's like absolutely horrifying. It's like this monochrome blue on the bridge. Yes. It looks just like gross. And when the second truck goes and it gets to the end of the bridge and it's about to finish, you see these branches that you don't really see earlier that like just like almost attack the people in the truck and the guy on the bridge. And it seemed like the branches were like growing the way they filmed it. And it looked like something that you would see in like an 80s campy thing where it's like these branches are almost like eating them. Yeah. And it kind of made me think throughout the movie, is this really just like a bunch of people that are trying to create, they're trying to like accomplish this crazy human feat or challenge to be able to like get this cash? Or is there like a supernatural element? Because you jump to certain parts of the movie, you see like these like Aztec like foreshadowing, almost like symbols as they're traveling along, and like there's some weird music on top of it, and it seemed to signify something. And then before they get to the bridges, they're driving like their trucks down this road. They stop and they see a fork in the road, and they talk to like this like super scary man that's just like in the middle of the forest for some reason. And one of the guys that speaks Spanish is just like, hey, like where's like Pico Vera, like where do we go? Yeah. And then he's just like, Pico Vera is dead. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I felt the same thing this second time watching it.
It seems like there's an element possibly, right?
Yeah, especially because it started off with that symbol of the Aztec looking monkey thing, and then it shows that symbol like, I want to say right before any of the crazy stuff starts happening. It's like right on kind of when they first start their journey, and it's right before they go over the dam that you were talking about, and it's right like, it's just, they see that weird, you see that weird symbol, and then immediately it's just like, now we're on this journey of just fucked up shit happening.
But I think it's neither, what I've come to the conclusion about is it's neither about the supernatural element, nor is it about just like a human like feat that needs to be accomplished against crazy odds. It's both, or it's how you interpret it, really, you know? It's kind of like, why not include both things, kind of cloud the viewer's judgment and like further create tension. You're just like, how the fuck are they doing this? Like, what's driving this craziness? And like, why are they a part of this? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't really think you're supposed to know. I don't, some things are better unanswered, and I think that was like the intention of it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Definitely. One thing that I do want to talk about is that the sound design in this movie.
Perfect. I wanted to talk about this
is
too.
Amazing.
Got nominated for an Academy Award.
It's for some reason the only nomination, but I think that's probably part of like it not getting marketed and not being watched as much as it did. But one of the facts, I think we talked about this already, was that I think I told you it's by Tangerine Dream did the sound for this, and he did it before ever seeing any shots of this movie. It just off of the script made the entire sound.
So he just read it and did it?
Yeah, he read the script and decided that this is how this movie should sound. And then William Friedkin agreed and put it all in the movie. Yeah. That's crazy to me.
It is crazy.
No movie today is doing that.
Yeah, sorry, we have a screaming child somewhere down in this sketchy alley that we live in. Yeah. Beautiful Koreatown, Los Angeles. No, but it's a crazy score, man, and there's
like synth.
It's like these like modular like 80s synths, which you gotta understand is like it's very progressive and like early into like people doing that in general, or even like in a film. You know, it's kind of like almost like a Stranger Things, like bing down, like these crazy sounds, and it's reminiscent of like an 80s like sort of campy like horror. It reminded me of like Suspiria, if you've ever seen Suspiria.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, it's just classic like 80s, like intentionally like sort of campy, but like super artistic movie.
I also feel like the movie itself, like the sound mixer on set and the people in post-production, used the original score to a great effect. Like it would go from that crazy synth to like it would then switch scenes in perfect silence, and it would just be total silence and then maybe footsteps or something, and it worked almost effortlessly to make to give the feel that they wanted it.
Yeah, and also like I'm a huge fan of people using scores, or I mean filmmakers using scores like sparingly. I don't love when every single second there's like a score, like a music that's going on. Sometimes you see that working out to create tension, like you see that in Uncut Gems, where it's just like it's supposed to be anxiety inducing. But specifically in this movie, there's like absolute chaos that's happening, followed by like this like deafening silence in the next scene. You know, it'll go from like the last car crossing like this like haunted sort of breaking apart bridge, and then right after it's like sunny from like the next morning, and it's just like you just hear the car just driving on like dirt, you know, and there's almost like a serenity that follows the chaos. Like you know what I'm saying?
Another fact that I saw was that the sound mixer used for the sounds of the trucks for the Sorcerer, they used a lion's roar.
Really?
In order to make this truck sound like that, and that's why when the truck's like revving up, it's like it's got that like deep roar sound to it, and then for the other truck, it was a cougar's roar.
Wow.
Yeah, weird, right? Like,
that's insane, bro.
But that's something where I feel like only in the 70s were they like thinking on that level of ingenuity, because they didn't have the technology to just create artificial sounds.
There's something like that's like so admirable and amazing about like having like less to work with and still making things happen. Yeah. But there's also something like really frustrating about it for me as like a creative person, you know? Like you go, like I went to school for like graphic design, you know, and you research and like you see and learn about all these designers who had to do like the same exact shit that we do in like Illustrator. And like you can create with these tools like super quickly, and they were doing it with like sometimes like cuts of paper and like making these like collages essentially that would be like rendered into graphics for like movies, and it's just like so much more precise and like way more like effort. It's crazy. It's like there's something to that where it's like you have like none of the materials to make something cool, but you're so skilled that you make it happen, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
Well, I was talking about that with, and we're going to bring it up again, 2001. Like it's, bro, I'm telling you, like the fact that they used models and paintings and real world things is, whereas now we can just hop in a computer program and make that in half an hour.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But they had to hire some guy who's like an expert in painting little tiny models and stuff.
But yeah, there's just I just picture like some guy from like the 60s who's like trying to like make these like subtle sounds to like put into the score, like put in the sounds of the truck, and he's like ripping his hair out, and he's just like this tortured artist, like he's in a room and he's just like, why?
And he's just like records a lion.
Yeah, and he's like, fuck it, we're putting a lion in.
Yeah.
You know, but like today, like, you know, you just like someone goes like finds a sample of something, or like just like goes in Ableton and just like fucking hits some piano keys and like adds like, not to take away from like people like that, it's still incredibly hard to make music at any time, or any art for that matter, but there's something funny to that where it's just like, oh, I just saved the Illustrator file.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't like the way that sounds. Like, good thing we don't use tape anymore. I can just like undo, Command Z. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous, bro. But yeah, dude. Do you have anything else that you want to add? Do you want to talk about the end of this movie, how it wraps up?
Okay, so it ends like they eventually get through the bridge. Then there's this scene where they have to get past this giant knockdown tree.
Let's talk about that.
And that one, I know you really love the ingenuity that it takes.
Yeah.
To come up with how they actually get through the tree, but just overall, like for me, I think for a 70s movie, the color palettes are amazing. Like the fact, like they went from that bridge scene where it's like these blues and it's like a storm, and then all of a sudden it's like silence. It's this bright green jungle and like almost softer greens too. Like it's I really enjoyed that they brought it into this almost surreal aspect. You know, because other than that, it seems like it would be some like action adventure movie in the same, like Indiana Jones.
There's
or
so
something.
many things created today that like don't use like that much color to evoke that much emotions, you know?
Yeah.
Like you don't watch like a Modern Family episode and like see like the color of the Kia Soul in the picture like screaming anything in particular, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
They're just like whatever like the set color is, like that's what it is, you know? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know there's more to it, but it's just like
Yeah.
I feel like there's less of attention to detail with that.
Yeah.
But maybe only in the mainstream. I think that's one of the main sort of things that you can kind of look at is the mainstream, like back then, I think had like way more like artsy movies that like really took chances and were able to, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like today you have like big bitch, whoa, bitch. No, but you have these like big budget movies that kind of focus on like none of the dialogue, and they kind of focus on just like explosions and certain things and just like the entertainment value, but they skip the attention to detail with things like color and like color palettes and like texture and things that like really like sort of psychologically like take you to a different place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And make it an art form. Nowadays, like Michael Bay movies, not to hate on him, but like
He's always like the jumping point for anyone who's just like, you know what movie isn't artistic? Like,
yeah, it is, because it's I always say this, it's entertainment value versus art form, you know? And like there's people, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on it. There's plenty of people who want to watch the movie just to be entertained.
there's nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. However, that has become big business, and so now making a movie for an artistic theme or imagery that you're going for doesn't sell as well as it used to.
Yeah, you basically have to make a movie that's like the Imagine Dragons of film.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what sells.
Yeah, almost exactly like that.
Just give fat Americans fucking Imagine Dragons for breakfast.
Exactly.
You know what
They'll
I'm
eat
saying?
that shit up.
They'll lap it up, dude.
Yeah. So there's that scene where they have to get past the tree, and they end up using like a small amount of the nitroglycerin to blow it up or whatever, and they get past it. And then I think the next big thing that they have to get through is like this mountain range at the top that they're like driving along like the ridge of this mountain.
Yeah, and then like the French guy, like, cause there's like a victory, and so all the guys working together where they had like animosity towards each other, they're kind of being more friendly.
Yeah.
And like the French guy who looks exactly like Mac DeMarco to me, just like an older guy, same wart, same location.
Yeah, you only see it because of the wart though.
It's not though. It's in the eyes. It's in the cheek. He's like this chubby like French Canadian motherfucker.
Yeah.
And he like, anyways, he's like talking to like the guy from Israel, and he's like, do you have kids? And then like the guy's just like, no, and he's like, have you ever been to France before? And like horrible French accent, but
Yeah.
and then like they're just like shooting the shit, and he's like, here's my daughter, and he goes to show, and it's. Could not have picked a worse time, and it's like the picture of his kid just sends him flying off the mountain because they don't have any like. Oh
Yeah,
my
the
god!
second he chooses not to pay attention because he's trying to like bond with somebody is the second that he then hits a rock and goes over the side of the cliff in a giant explosion.
Yeah, for those of you driving on a big windy mountain, don't just forget about your child. They don't matter until you get down the fucking mountain.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So we hit that. The one of the trucks is now lost.
Yeah, and kind of just to wrap up the final thing, it's like the other truck is like astonished. The two guys are like, oh my god, like they blew up. Like they actually kind of felt bad, you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're driving the truck down the thing. They almost get robbed by these guys, and one of the guys in the truck ends up shooting like all three of the guys, but gets shot himself.
Mm-hmm.
He dies. And then there's this scene that to me is the most dated looking scene. There's parts of it that look awesome.
Yeah.
But the last survivor's driving the truck down the mountain. He's like hungry, like thirsty, like delusional, just exhausted. And he's kind of just like losing his mind. And you have again like the very similar palette of like a monochrome blue.
Yeah.
But instead of
some purple too.
Yeah, but instead of it being the bridge, it's like this like cavernous like sort of set of mountain ranges that are like very intricate looking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he has like this juxtaposed like layer of like himself over the mountain range, and he's just like, I gotta make it, I gotta make it, and he's just like losing his mind. And there's like flashbacks that he's seeing of like all the things they've had to go through.
I actually read, I didn't read all the way through it, but it was something about how those little, the part that you didn't like about that, where it's like showing his face and then like
it is a little too much for me.
I read that was inserted into the end of the movie, but it was from a cut scene.
Weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe this isn't like why it felt off, but it
did seem.
It seemed a little like.
It seemed very dated.
Yeah, the only thing that's maybe like imperfect, but I think at the time it probably looked fine. So
Yeah.
this is just a judgment of today.
Definitely.
Do you know what I'm saying?
In 1977, people were just like, "Oh my God, this is
For sure, bro.
high quality."
Yeah. So, anyways, he finally gets to this part where his truck like completely shuts down, and you just see him like carrying the one box of nitroglycerin. It's all he can carry, and he's just like talking to himself and like just walking on this road, probably like a couple miles. And then he finally gets down. You see like the flames shooting out of the ground from the oil thing they need to save. And he's like about to fall. Like he's like swaying with the box. And like some workers see him. They're like, oh, fuck. And then they grab him and then they take the box from him. And he just like walks off.
Yeah.
Cut next day. He is like a hero for like these villagers.
Yeah.
Like there's
They're
almost
all
like
following the car.
Yeah, it's like the Beatles are in town.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
You know? And it's
they're
all
like,
like,
woo!
it's all dubbed in sound of like little kids just like, yeah, woo, like screaming.
They have like Che Guevara like signs, but of his face, like
Yeah.
And then he basically doesn't feel like a hero. He's sitting. He gets his paycheck for $40,000, and he's like, "How the fuck do I cash this?" He's like, "I'm like a fugitive, but like I have like a fake thing. Like I can't take this to a bank."
Yeah.
The guy reassures him it's gonna be fine. He's like, "You should just take it and go to this city." He's like, "I would move to that city if I could." And then he just realizes that he's kind of like fucked no matter what, and it's like he did all these things for like this crazy quest and to get out of his situation. But I think when it all dawns on him, he realizes like I'm still really kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Even though I did
he can't
this.
go home.
I can't, like, it's not really that much better.
Yeah.
And so you see him, he wants to have one last dance with this lady. And by the way, before he stands up, there's this shot where it's like another zoom in shot, and it gets real close to his face, and it's like probably right here. And you just see like this like battle torn, like semi black eye, like dirty, like
His lips are all chapped.
lips are chapped, like so much texture in the face, and you just see this portrait of just like a broken man, you
Yeah,
know, like
definitely.
he's just like so fucked. And camera zooms back out, dances with this lady because he knows it's like maybe the last bit of enjoyment he might have for a while. Then out of nowhere you see like the modular synths come back, like and then like you just see the face of the guy who he fucked over back in Jersey.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he found him finally in this village, but it's after he completes this quest. And then you just see him walk into the building and still bam, 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 and then like Sorcerer just flashes on the screen. And it's
Yeah.
basically like it's like so nihilistic. It's
Yeah.
just like there's more to it than that, but it's just very much like, oh wow, cool. So it was for nothing.
It's almost a different rendition of like how I said that it would have been an interesting ending if they had realized that the nitroglycerin wasn't explosive. It's almost the same kind of like it was all for naught kind of an idea. But like how you're talking about the guy that they fucked over in Jersey, I also wanted to like rewind for a second and talk about the car crash scene back in Jersey, because we didn't talk about that, but it's a gnarly scene. Like
It's pretty crazy.
And I actually read that it took, I think, over a week and a half or something to film, and they wrecked 7 different cars. They couldn't get the thing done until eventually they hired like some outside stunt coordinator guy, and he came in and did it on the first try.
Dude, I love that we're like the Pulp Fiction of like podcast storytelling. Like there's no like linear sort of
Yeah,
sense of what we're
no,
talking about.
definitely not.
We finally get to the end of the movie and you're like, remember that thing that happened
Dude,
scene one?
I mean, I had to cover the car crash scene because we didn't even talk about it.
It would have
but-
bothered you. Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah, it's a crazy one. Just like many things in this movie, I believe that they're extremely well executed. It's one of the most underrated movies I've ever seen.
Well, I think it ties into how you said it was a nihilistic viewpoint. Like it may be the upper class fucking over the lower class, but even then, like even when they get the money that they deserve, they're still kind of screwed.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a commentary on like what just the world in a sense, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Pretty dark, But me and Nick always talk about this. Like he likes like a good fun ending, and like a movie I enjoy is where everything goes to shit and no one's happy. So
yeah. I kind of like I could do both as long
like-
as it's making a point.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna watch like fucking Seabiscuit, dude. Are you kidding me?
Seabiscuit.
Or like one of those horse movies where everything goes super well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's just a little portion of the movie where it's like, oh, he can't win any races. He's not winning. And then like by the end of it,
He's
it's just-
blind.
Yeah, he's blind. And by the end of it, he's just the best horse in town, no matter what. It doesn't matter.
He's just the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we pretty much captured and covered everything, but I do want to ask you something because we haven't done this segment since I believe like one of the first episodes. So I want to play a game of Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
A little FMK.
Okay.
And what we're going to be talking about is 3 members from the movie, and these 3 members, first and foremost, being Mac DeMarco, the French guy.
Right to work. Okay.
Secondarily, we're going to pick the sort of like soccer player looking Israel guy.
Okay.
He's pretty cute.
Yeah, I was about to.
And then third, we're going to pick. Cool, there's someone yelling in the alley. Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
he's singing for us.
Okay, and then third, we're going to pick we're gonna do the Jersey guy.
The
So we-
Jersey guy.
Yeah, so we got some cuties. We got Mac DeMarco, we got the soccer player, and we got the Jersey guy.
Okay, fuck the soccer player.
You're
right
gonna-
off the
oh,
bat.
yeah.
He's cute.
Have you seen his hair?
He's by far
So
the
cute,
cutest.
dude.
And then we were talking about earlier how he has that little headband on with like just the little curl of.
Oh, the one
hair
curl
coming
that
out.
comes down. He's like, I don't even care. It's out.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
don't even know.
Wardrobe definitely didn't do that.
Oh shit, sorry. Like, but
Oh, is that out?
yeah. I'm gonna say marry the Jew. No, not the
Whoa!
Jew. Oh. He was the Jew. I'm sorry, I fucked the Jew. But
How much do you like this
the
guy?
Jersey
Dude?
guy. The Jersey guy. My bad.
You're gonna fuck the Jersey guy. Okay.
Yeah, fuck the Jersey guy.
Yeah, because he seems kind of like a quick fuck. Like you're just like he's probably really good in bed, but you want to leave him because he's.
Fuck the guy from Jerusalem.
You're gonna marry the Jersey
I'm
guy?
gonna marry the Jersey guy.
Why?
I mean,
He's kind of fucked. He's only out for
he's
himself.
kind of fucked, but he's
He's not gonna treat you good.
no, definitely not. But what was the other option, Mac DeMarco? He left his wife in Paris so he could run away because he was a asshole with his money.
I know, but he's still thinking about his kids when he's doing the quest.
I guess.
Don't you want him to take care of your babies?
No, I think I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill that guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially with his Mac DeMarco looking warrior on his face.
Oh,
Okay, so yeah, that's how I feel about Fuck, Marry, Kill.
alrighty. Well, we know how you feel about Jewish soccer players and Mac DeMarco and the Jersey guy.
Yeah.
And I think that just about covers it. And why don't you go ahead and lead us out, Cody?
How do we end this?
Why don't you go ahead and tell them to keep on being baddies?
Keep on being baddies.
Say it again, dude. Jesus Christ.
Keep-
No. Wait. I'm going to count it down, and you're going to do it well. You're going to look right in the camera, okay?
I'll look right at you.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Keep on being baddies.
That's it, baby. Later.
I
Thank you.
drink your milkshake, milkshake, milkshake. Milkshake.